Welcome back. Happy Monday. Another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. Bree Maestas, Joey Richards, Zach Seegers. Guys, how are you first and foremost? We've got a big deadline ahead of us, August 29th, the Tuesday at 2 p.m. The Broncos have to be down to their 53-man roster. We had a lot of cuts. We'll get into those soon. But do you have a surprise cut from the team that you're expecting either tonight or tomorrow morning? Zach?
Yeah. I would like to say Albert O just to twist the knife a little, but I don't think that one's going to happen. Goodness, I'm trying to run through some of the positions right now. Tyler Beatty, but I don't think that would surprise anyone at this point. Tony Jones. You know what? I'll say Justin Sternat. I think he probably makes it. I'm changing my answer again. JL Skinner. JL Skinner had a ton of hype after he was drafted. I think everyone was like, oh, this guy maybe even contributes this year. Maybe he's the best rookie the Broncos took or whatever. DTY outplayed him throughout camp from what I saw. I think he outplayed him in the preseason from what I saw. I think DTY makes it. I think JL Skinner doesn't.
I agree, Zach. I don't know if there's going to be any like huge shocks. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Bree, you asked how I'm doing. This time of year always makes me nervous. That's what it is. I don't like cut days. Kendall Hinton, that made me sad. You know, it's always just like a sad one because you fall in love with some of these players. Hard Knocks does a great job of showing that, where it's like you fall in love with some of these players and they end up getting cut. Kendall Hinton, a hard worker. We all know how hard of a worker he is. We all respect and love him. Cut. I don't like it.
You're stealing my shine over here, Joey, getting ahead of schedule. Let's go ahead and have a moment of silence for Kendall Hinton as he's no longer a part of the Denver Broncos roster for now. Thank you for that. So it is kind of sad, though. One of the most memorable moments in the previous 3 years was Kendall Hinton having to step in against the New Orleans Saints in what would be remembered as the COVID I don't even know what you would call it. It was a terrible showing for the Broncos organization, but Kendall Hinton really played a major role in creating the lore that is the only active member of the Hall of Fame from the Denver Broncos. So let's jump into it. My headphones are giving me trouble. Sorry there, Zach. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I just
took a really deep breath. So
I didn't want to cut you off, and maybe I caught myself. Anyways, Kendall Hinton. I think I'm not too sad about it because I think there's a great chance he returns to this roster. It happened last season where he didn't make the final 53, and then he was starting games for this team before too long. It would not surprise me in the slightest. I think as a result of filling in for the Broncos that fabled day against the Sean Payton and those New Orleans Saints, I think Kendall Hinton is destined to always find playing time for the Denver Broncos at wide receiver. I think maybe that's why the Broncos wide receivers are cursed. It's a blood pact that Kendall Hinton made with some powerful spirit.
Yeah, no, it makes me sad. Just because I disagree with that he's coming back. I think maybe practice squad. I agree there. But man, I just when you look at these other guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey had a great camp, I thought. I think Kendall Hinton might be better than Marquez Callaway. Don't hey, that might be a little of a hot take. Marquez Callaway hasn't done a damn thing to impress me, if I'm being honest with everybody. What has he done? I mean, when I went to training camp,
it's been disappointing.
On one day, I didn't see him do a thing. I didn't see a tweet from Zach Seegers' training camp thread. I didn't see a Bree Kendall Hinton, one of my favorite players, or Marquez Callaway. I'm looking forward to him. I haven't seen anybody say anything about that man. And then he dropped a touchdown passes last week.
Well,
I was looking forward to him.
A lot of people were telling us that I don't know why I'm.
You're not cutting out.
Sorry, we're having echoing a little bit. I don't know why Marquez Callaway and Lil Jordan Humphrey were basically roster shoo-ins for a lot of Broncos country. Just because you pick up somebody in free agency doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a starting wide receiver. I think Sean Payton did a really great job of casting a wide net throughout his entire tenure here to start off. And what that's done is bolstered the roster to the point where there is a lot of depth. This is a talented team, both offensively and defensively. So as we get into some news of injuries, let's start thinking about what that roster is going to look like. We'll obviously be reacting to that come Wednesday, but we'll jump right into it with the K'Waun Williams news. After initial reports that Williams would seek a second opinion on his ankle injury, it was announced today that the cornerback would miss up to 8 weeks. He's going to be going under the knife with Rob Anderson, who is a notorious or a well-known, renowned ankle and foot surgeon. And so hopefully, best case scenario is when they get in there, they'll be able to understand just how bad the injury is for him. He obviously missed a lot of training camp, wasn't able to play in the preseason. But if there's any hope for him to return for a portion of the season, the Broncos will need to place him on injured reserve prior to making cuts. So he'll have to make the roster and then be placed on injured reserve, because if they don't, then he's out for the season. Let's talk a little bit about that. Do the Broncos keep K'Waun Williams? I think yes, because that cornerback room is bolstered by his talent. I don't think you can move on from him. But I did tweet out today, what's Bryce Callahan up to? And I've been hitting that table for a very long time because I think he is an appropriate shoe-in for the roster if you wanted to create some extra depth. Now, there was a lot of pushback about injuries and how both of those talents, both K'Waun and Bryce, have been known for missing a lot of games. And how I want to handle that conversation, and I'll throw it over to Zach first, is the idea that although injuries are a concern and availability is of top-notch importance when you're talking about bringing in players, if you're able to get a couple of healthy games out of Bryce Callahan or K'Waun Williams at a later point this year, I think it's important to keep those members on the roster or bring talent in like that, even with an injury risk, because I think the production outweighs some of the missed time that you see. That position is violent. Guys, tell me how you feel about that. Zach, what about the impact of K'Waun missing time?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely impactful. I think this secondary is the only part of the Denver Broncos where you feel confident right now going into the season saying that's elite. That's an elite unit. I feel that way about the secondary. I feel great about Mathis. I feel great about Surtain. I like the safety spots. I feel great about K'Waun. I don't know if I feel that confident about the nickel spot anymore. Going into training camp, my one big question with that unit was, what is the depth behind K'Waun? Felt a lot better about it after seeing what we saw Passy do. And now I feel really concerned again, because now Bassey might be your number one, and you're left currently on the roster. Faion Hicks is that number 2 option. That is horrifying. I think it would probably end up being
Bassey, right?
I think they would. Yeah, so Bassey's the number 1.
Okay, yeah, and then after that,
so there's that, and now it'd probably end up being a safety. Like, I think they'd probably do Caden if they lost Bassey, but now you're getting worse at 2 spots. So I would definitely re-sign Callahan. Yes, Callahan has injury concerns, but you can get him for cheap, and he's played double-digit games every season since 2017, I want to say. Every game or every season since 2016, rather. So yes, he misses time every season, but plug holes. It's not about finding a 17-game replacement for K'Waun or whatever. You also have Bassey. With those 3 patched together answers at that nickel corner spot or at that dime corner spot, because this defense, if they truly are carrying over a lot of Evero stuff, we should see a good bit of dime this year. You need more than one guy. It's not like, oh, well, we've got K'Waun, so we're cool. Oh, K'Waun's hurt. Well, we've got Bassey, so we're fine. We only need the one. You need multiple. I think they need to look for other options. People talking about Riley Moss. I mean, I think that's a nice idea in theory, but he was drafted to be on the outside. I think he can play. And he had no time to practice. And cornerback is the hardest position to play in the NFL, maybe. And you're just going to throw him to the wolves. I really worry about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna look more at the bright side here, right? I think that's important to bring to the pot. So I'm gonna look at the bright side. I think that, you know what, Are the Broncos going to replace K'Wan Williams? No, they're really not. He's that good? I think he's really, really good. He's so good. But one thing I will say is that if you need DB help, what's the easiest one to find? It is definitely nickel. It's out of all 4 of those other spots, if you're looking at either outside corner, if you're looking at either safety, that nickel's the easiest to find. It is. There's guys that are going to become available, and they're going to be okay. They're not going to be bad. There's going to be guys that are going to be able to compete with the Sang Bassi right away. If the Broncos so choose to sign a nickel cornerback. Desmond King was cut today. That's a guy that's played for the last 3 years in the NFL and started all 3 of those years. Bryce Callahan's available. People have thrown that out there. There's going to be guys that have come to be available. Like, it's kind of crazy to me. It's when you look at like K'Wan Williams' contract, K'Wan Williams didn't come to the Broncos and become good. He was good with the 49ers. Like these, and they got him on like the contract that they got him on because the nickel position is just undervalued. It is super undervalued, and I don't really understand why. But because of that, you're going to be able to find out of most positions, I would say at this point, there is more good players at nickel than there are like those positions that are very highly sought after. There just is.
I don't know. I think it's Desmond King and Bryce Callahan, and that's it. Now,
there's gonna be more
cuts are coming, but I don't know. I think the one thing that helps is we're seeing a lot of safeties get nickel work, and so you're pulling from a couple positions there, and safeties are a lot less valuable. So I think but you're not finding really good cornerbacks often on the open market. Yes, maybe after roster cut downs, that's always an exception to the rule. But I think safeties tend to linger out there more, so maybe you can find a safety with that versatility. I'm not as confident, I guess. Like Desmond King, he started a lot the last few years, but he's been a late cut or late signing free agent at least a few of those years. Bryce Callahan, same deal there, plus the injury concerns. I think they're good depth pieces, but I think there are reasons why these guys aren't going to be on 53-man rosters.
I guess
and are getting signed as injury
real quick, Zach. I guess I would ask, how much worse is Bryce Callahan than Sang Bassi? Like, would you trust this year? Like, or is he just better?
He played 15 games last season for the Chargers, and he looked absolutely incredible. Joey and I had conversations about that a lot last season.
It's just like, okay, so you get an injury-prone player there, but you're more so looking for
he balled out, Zach.
Like, you're looking for guys that are going to come in. Like, it seems like everybody's over the moon about Sang Bassi right now. You even mentioned that, Zach. If Sang Bassi is as good as he's being talked up to be right now, you're looking for quality depth, and there are going to be guys that are going to be quality depth. Desmond King will be quality depth. Bryce Callahan would be quality depth. Even if he does have his injury concerns, you're just looking for depth. I don't understand why that's like the biggest deal in the world, I guess, if you're not looking for starter level corner. If you're looking for starter, I could definitely see the issue. I wonder where people fall on that. I guess it's your opinion on Sang Bassi.
No, I do think there's a gap currently. I mean, maybe I'm probably putting way too much into preseason and the Bryce Callahan thing, but Bryce Callahan is a 32-year-old corner. I don't know. I'm not. Fabian Moreau has been almost. Sorry, I see Christopher Hart's question. He does have some slot experience dating back to like early in his career, so maybe that's part of the answer there. I don't know. I'm not saying those guys aren't good. I just don't think you feel great about them. Again, like I said, you need depth options. I think there are some fine ones out there. I don't think it's like, oh, there's just a ton of good nickels sitting out there waiting to be signed. I guess that's the part I disagreed with, but maybe I was misunderstanding.
Yeah, I'm just more so looking at depth. I'm looking at like, hey, if Sang Bassi is as good as everyone talks him up to be, you're just looking for quality depth. And I'm fine with a 32-year-old if he's just depth. Like that, that's kind of my that's just kind of what I'm saying.
Especially one that had 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown off of that interception, a bunch of yards, a bunch of tackles for losses. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's not the worst depth that you could occupy here on the roster. Especially, I see this comment from Ray that I wanted to pull as well. Riley Moss is an outside cornerback, but his hip work and footwork is comparable to Callahan and K. Williams. I don't know if I agree with that. The transition might take 2 to 3 weeks, but his transition and speedy footwork can work. A lot of the rumbling in the offseason when Riley Moss was drafted was whether or not he could be a versatile switch player there in those positions. But Riley Moss hasn't seen the field. And I really do agree with Zach's point there that there's a little bit of an NFL speed uptake regimen that he would have to undergo before being ready to not only step on the field, but then you're asking him to switch positions. So don't feel 100% great on that point, Zach.
And what I think, I've maybe been the lowest on Moss here, but I think what everyone loves about Riley Moss is his ability to lock down receivers down the field, use that sideline to kind of squeeze them out. When you put a guy in the nickel, I think nickel cornerback is so hard. It's also a reason why you're seeing so many teams put their elite receivers in the slot more often now, because you have to guard them releasing off the line both ways. I think it's I could see Moss doing that long term. And again, it's a good, to Joey's point about, and both your points about depth. Like, it's not about finding a flawless cornerback or whatever. Like, I think the Broncos have some decent options to plug in there and get them through this. I guess I think it's like, I like Bryce Callahan out there. I like Desmond King out there. Beyond that, and like maybe doing some on roster options, and then beyond that, maybe some guys get cut. I don't see the names beyond those guys. That is my stance. That's what I was pushing back on when Joey was like, oh, there's good nickels out there. Maybe there will be soon. I think there are 2 good ones out there currently, and they could sign elsewhere.
Jules Romero in the YouTube chat wanted to kindly point out that K'Wan Williams is also 32 years old.
Unbelievable. He doesn't play like he's 32 at all.
That's insane. I believe it, but that is stunning to me.
Yeah, he really doesn't play like that at all. Like the way he moves still, and even just like, I don't know.
And his physicality.
Players get older, a lot of the time they lose that like physical edge where, their body just doesn't look the same. K'Wan is just like out there hitting folks.
You were saying that about Kareem Jackson, and you see he's not slowing down one bit.
No, yeah, you're right. I think
I swear to God, Zach, if I could jump through the screen right now, I would take you out with a headlock and a noogie, and I would just end you today is what would happen.
I think he's not slowing down, and that's probably why he's the backup. But sorry.
Oh, fuck's sake.
I think the thing with K1, and both of them have not lost that physical edge at all. Both are still tremendous players. I'm just kind of needling you a little bit. The crazy thing for me with K1 is he's a tiny guy who's played crazy physical, and he's still around. I mean, in the league. I'm surprised he hasn't retired or something yet, because he's taken an absolute beating.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly from Saturday's game. We'll start off with the good, and I think we all have to, I know the score doesn't really matter, a win or a loss in the preseason, whatever. But guys, I know you remember Christmas game last season. I know you remember what the Rams did to the Denver Broncos. They walloped them. So we decided, on Saturday, we're going to do the same thing back. Denver Broncos score 41 unanswered points, a little bit of retribution for SpongeBob and Patrick, which I thought it was very funny. Inside the stadium, the Denver Broncos actually played the SpongeBob theme. And I feel like I was the only one kind of looking around, was this an intentional dig? It wasn't, though. They played Baby Shark in another song that is to be named. I just think that they were playing towards the younger audience that was in store, but the Broncos haven't scored 40 plus points since October 18th of 2018, which was against Arizona. They shut out the Jets in September 2021, but the score, wasn't that crazy. I know it's preseason, but who was responsible for those points? It was a Jarrett Stidham. It was a Ben DiNucci. It was the running backs. It was Albert Okwuegbunam. And it felt like we finally saw the benefits of a well-coached team. So the stadium, The field looked elite, absolute win for the ownership group. But right now, we're going to start off with what was one of the best performances I've seen out of Albert Okwuegbunam. One-handed catch, a big Alberto hurdle, big night for the tight end, who had a lack of opportunity in the past. 7 receptions, 109 yards, 1 touchdown. It's enough for player of the game for me. Guys, how'd you feel about Alberto's showing? He was highlighted for a reason, but I want to give him his flowers.
Zach, I'm gonna agree with Bree for the positives. I'm gonna throw you the oop for the negatives.
You're putting me in a tough spot because my bad is how awful.
Listen, be the bad guy for once, Zach. Okay. Just be the bad guy. Can you not be the bad guy for the pod?
For once,
for the sake of the
pod, watch the first 1945 of this show. Continue, Joey. Sorry.
Embrace the villain, man. That's what we need. No, I'm kidding.
Remember when Bree threatened my life? I think she said she was going to end me less than 5 minutes ago, and you're just like, Zach, be the bad guy for once. No, I'll be the bad guy. Fine. Okay, hype up.
Bree and I do it all the time, please. Okay, like it's ridiculous on this show. I personally, I've been a big Alberto critic. I maybe the biggest ever. I think. Out of everybody, a lot of jokes have been made about Alberto.
Play the tape.
I will say, though, his biggest thing for me was one, like his hands have always been a little inconsistent to me. Like it's one thing. He always gets in a really good body position to be able to make a catch. Hands a little inconsistent once he gets in there. Secondly, though, the blocking. The blocking looks like he improved, which is crazy. Like, I'm not going to sit here and apologize for what I said in the past at all, because it just wasn't there. It just wasn't. And I can't predict these guys just getting that massively better. He looks like he's a pretty good blocking tight end if I'm looking at just the preseason games, which is cool. It's really cool. Like, it makes me want to be, hey, if Greg Dulcich went down, I would feel comfortable with Albert putting in his place. I would rather a Adam Trotman playing your inline and Alberto playing your other tight end more than I would Chris Manhertz and then Adam Trotman's my other tight end. Like I think it puts that in the mix for me, I will say. So Alberto, he looked really, really good. That one-hand catch, awesome. I do have to point out, I think the Broncos did put him in position to succeed. There's nothing wrong with that because he took advantage of his opportunities. I can't criticize him for that. He took advantage of every opportunity and then some. He did more than expected in those opportunities. It's going to make it really tough for the Broncos because from everything you hear, this is a guy that they've been trying to trade and they've had no biters. So, hey, I don't know what to think there. Personally, if I were the Broncos, I'd probably still trade him, and I'll tell you guys why real quick. It's just because he's on that last year of his deal, and it's hard for me to think of a situation where I want him starting. Is he in the mix there? Is he in the mix if a guy gets hurt? Okay, do we plug in Alberto? If it isn't Greg Dulcich, it's hard for me to find a situation. And then even if it is Greg Dulcich, it's competition. Like I'm not entirely sure. I can't put all my stock into a few preseason games. So if they were trying to trade him before, I don't think I would get off of that stance at all. But once you have your evaluation, one game shouldn't change it. It just really shouldn't change it. And I don't know. The Broncos have been looking at tight ends this entire year. It leads me to believe that they aren't huge fans of Alberto, and they were trying to get his trade value up. And I think, hey, if that's what they were trying to do, they did exactly that because he did more than enough to show his value last week.
He's not replacing Chris Manhertz. I will say that with
as a receiver, certainty. He's a ton better than Chris Manhertz, though.
But he's not replacing him on the roster. There's a 0% chance of that.
No, but he's more talented. To Ray's point, I will say, just to give some people some credit, he's more talented than Manhertz is one task, and you know what he's out there for. If Alberto gets better at blocking, he could be in there at every single snap because he can be a receiving tight end and help in the blocking.
I still disagree. I think he's a fine blocker. I think Chris Manhertz is a fine receiver too. I saw as much from Chris Manhertz receiving in training camp as I did from Albert Okwuegbunam blocking. And in NFL games, we've seen more from Chris Manhertz as a receiver, which again is very little. Of all NFL tight ends last year, he had his team had the highest run rate when he was in the offense. So he is like even more than Eric Tomlinson last year. Like he's in the game, they're running the ball. He's an extra offensive lineman. With what this Broncos team is trying to be under Sean Payton, at least as long as Russell Wilson is around, Chris Manhertz fits that view so much better. I do not see him replacing him. I think Manhertz was like a college basketball player. Like he's very talented, very athletic. He's been an 8-year NFL pro as a pure blocker for a reason. Yeah, I will take his talent to Albert. These are both professional NFL players. Albert was like been a borderline practice squatter, and Chris Manhertz has been an 8-year NFL pro. I'll take Manhertz on the talent side. I'll get my one positive thing in with Alberto. Tight ends generally develop like year 3-4 in the league is when we see them take a big step. We've started to see speculative contracts at tight ends in a way we don't really see with other positions. And yes, you're always paying guys for the future, but teams are paying their guys for things they have not demonstrated they can do yet. You look at the Cole Kmet deal, you look at 200 career yards, but like what has Albert O done as a blocker in like regular season NFL games is what I'm saying.
No, but
I understand the bar is low.
It's okay. But if Albert O did improve as a blocker, he's better than Chris Manhertz and more valuable. Bro, he's already had a year with over 200 career yards.
In what like I so disagree. They signed Chris Manhertz because they want an elite blocker, not like a guy who's an okay blocker and like good red zone.
But Manhertz is a complete tell. That's the issue. He's really a tell. You might as well.
But they knew that when they signed him
last year than Cam Fleming. Like you might as well put Cam Fleming's ass out there.
I guess, but like they signed. It's not like this isn't news to Sean Payton and George Payton or the seven NFL teams or the 7 NFL organizations in the past that have employed him.
From their perspective, I agree. I totally agree.
If Albert O improves considerably as a block, like I agree, there's a point to where he could improve where he's better. I just think that's like he's not reached that point. I disagree there. Manhertz is tight end 2 on this team, I think, and we're talking about whether or not O is tight end 4.
Wait, qualify that statement for me, please.
You got Dulcich, you got Troutman was from the depth chart. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I'll be curious if
you're just.
I'm expecting
tonight.
Expecting Manhertz to be second in snaps. I do stand by that. With what this team is trying to be, I think they want to be heavy personnel. We're going to punch you in the face a lot and run the ball down your throat.
But we didn't see that. But we didn't see that during preseason. We didn't see that during training camp necessarily. I think that is a guy.
Saw tons of it in training camp.
I don't think to the level in which you're seeing a more snap count from Manhertz, because the idea is that you want to be versatile and you want to be able to flip somebody like Troutman who can block and receive. Dulcich has been getting better there. Alberto has been getting better there because you don't want them to know exactly what you're doing at all times, although Manhertz is valuable. So on those very heavy, let's say 3rd down conversions in which the Broncos need to run the ball and get that first down, I think, you may see Manhertz utilized in those roles, but I don't think that brings him up on the depth chart as far as the tight end position goes.
I agree.
Sure. I think
Payton loves Troutman. Not only did he trade for him, he was listed as number 1 tight end off the depth chart. I would almost lean closer, Zach. I think Dulcich is going to get the most tight end snaps this year. But if I were to say there would be someone like vying to take those snaps from him, it's going to be Troutman.
No, I'd agree with you. I think now that you guys have said that, I agree. I think it's Troutman is probably tight end 1 on this team ultimately in terms of snaps. And Dulcich's talent could easily beat him out. But they want that versatility and everything. I think you go Troutman and then Dulcich and Manhertz are your more situational tight ends. I would still take Manhertz over comfortably.
I don't need to defend Dulcich, Rock, because the thing is, we know where he stands on this roster. We all love him. I loved him first. I'm just telling you that I'm not worried about where he falls on this position. I don't think he's at an escapable means to be cut. We just need to make sure that he stays healthy, and we're going to see exactly the kind of output that we anticipated there. Guys, tight end talk's getting a little lean. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Sorry, I never got to the negative point of Alberto because we went down.
Oh my God.
I know, it was insane. I don't know. Finally pop in year 4. You guys kept interrupting me. Look in the mirror. Alberto could finally pop in year 4. I just think Sean Payton comes in and is putting him on the trade block and is looking for trade suitors all throughout training camp and preseason. Nathaniel Hackett comes in and immediately is like celebrating, and Hackett's a goofy guy, fair, but is immediately like jumping up and down, celebrating in the draft room because they got Dulcich, who can, quote, do something that no other tight end on the roster can do. Totally overlooking Alberto. Hey, forget about that guy. I think we would have seen more of it from Alberto. At this point, I do think he's the 4th best tight end they have. It makes sense for him to be on the roster. I would trade him for a 7th round pick if that was an option. I don't know. I think I'm excited by the growth we've seen from Alberto. I just think it's maybe being blown up a little too much on Broncos Twitter. Like, it will be surprising if this guy has 150 receiving yards. The last time Sean Payton was an NFL head coach, his number 2 tight end had 15 receptions on the season.
Mm-hmm.
Targets. Sorry, 15 targets. His second most targeted, utilized tight end had 15 targets and 10 receptions.
We talked about it a lot when Peyton got hired, that we were possibly going to see a fall off there for the tight ends. I was worried about that implication for Greg Dulcich, and Albert O is all but written off. So there's this idea that you're not sure what you're going to see if Russell Wilson isn't finding somewhat of the midfield in that I guess in that realm. So there's a lot of lost love, but as wide receivers continue to go down for the Denver Broncos, including Tim Patrick, Kendall Hinton is no longer an option there. Cortland Sutton can't carry the team alone. What are you seeing from Jerry Jeudy as he's out with an injury? Little Jordan Humphrey, Brandon Johnson is coming back, and he looked good. I saw a comment in the chat that I can't scroll up right now to grab because we need to move on to a couple of other things. Guys, good things that you saw from Saturday that you wanted to hit on. Joey, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do more of an overarching now that the preseason is over. I'm going to hit on just like the good is the improvement game to game this preseason. That's one thing I have to say. That is the good, and that's a sign of good coaching. I think we all know what Sean Payton is going to be to the Broncos at this point. There's a reason why they traded a first-round pick. That same pick they traded Bradley Chubb for a head coach in Sean Payton. And just the improvement week to week displays that. I thought we saw Russell Wilson look better from week 1 to week 2 of the preseason. The team, the depth just looked better. I was concerned about the depth going into after week 1 of preseason. After week 3, I mean, Broncos country's a little over the moon. Is it too much? Probably. Are the Rams a very depthy team? Do they have a lot going on there? No, not at all. But Jarrett Stidham looked terrific. Like, I can go down the board. I mean, if we're just going what was good, I could list so many different players from this last week that I just want to make the overarching point that the team looks better week to week. And I think that's important.
Yeah, they gained 33 first downs this final game against the Rams, which is absolutely insane offensive movement. And they had the chunk plays too, so it's not like some weird nickel and dimey stuff. 33 first downs, the most first downs any team had in the entirety of the 2022 season was 33. Chiefs did it twice. Colts did it once in the opener against that really bad Texans defense. So the continued improvement, I think that's a Sean Payton factor. I'm with you, Joey. It feels like a lot of, I do have some concerns about this team through the preseason, like with the offensive line, and I wonder how certain things will pan out. But I do feel a lot better, I think, about the trajectory of things ultimately.
Facts.
I
was right. I agree. I made a great point.
For sure.
Agree. Do you also agree with my point?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Facts.
I'm shooting 100% out here. Zach.
Quick tip of the cap to Joey on. Oh my God. 1 second. quick tip of the hat to Joey for his Drew Sanders love. Drew Sanders looked great in this game. As he has all preseason. I think he'll have a role. And then we can't go this far without talking about Jarrett Stidham. No, you guys respond to the Drew Sanders. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned these two guys before we move on to the next one. Jarrett Stidham, who played out of his damn mind. My dad texted me going, "Are we going to have a quarterback controversy?" And I was like, "No, Dad, you're absolutely insane." But I don't know. You're paying him to be one of the best backups in the league. I think the first preseason game was really rough for him. The second one was better. And then the third one, he looked great. And I was really impressed by a lot of the plays he made.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to him because not only was it a good game, like a good Jarrett Stidham game, I like that, the shots that he was aggressive, like he was hunting with the football, which was really cool to see. And it gave me an opportunity to look at the other players. Like he were giving these receivers, like the Marvin Mims catch. That was like a good placed ball. It was good throw, or it really wasn't that great of a throw, if I'm being honest. It was underthrown. But it was a good shot because I was able to see Marvin Mims go out there and make a play, which is what I'm trying to see in preseason. The Brandon Johnson throw, that was a good placed ball. And he was hunting with the football. And I got to see Brandon Johnson make a play with it. Like, for a preseason game, the man Jarrett Stidham let me see the talent of everybody else out there too, which is awesome. And that's what I'm trying to see in a preseason game. I want to see who's worthwhile. And Jarrett Stidham gave me that. So,
I don't know, Joey. I'm going to push back a little bit, just a little bit, not a lot. I just want to be the bad guy for once. Rock said over in the YouTube chat, it makes me so happy that Stidham did so well after the first 2 weeks. I don't know if I'm going to give a ton of credit here. I need to. I want to. I think that there's a relatively good spot where there's a happy medium, and Stidham was really getting up to speed. I know there was a lot of great things out of him, and that's why we wanted to get him away from the Raiders and pay him a lot of guaranteed money. But I am a little worried that it was against this Rams defense. Let's hold that piece first. But the other is that when you talk about an aggressive throws, some decision making to me that were a little worrisome because he threw that ball into double coverage and the DB missed. It wasn't a good throw. The DB slowed down and missed that play. Should have been an interception. So I'm not going to give credit there to Jarrett Stidham because I don't think that it was more than luck. What I'm worried about here is how does he stand up if Russell Wilson goes down for a couple of weeks, which, knock on wood, maybe it never happens. Is Stidham the best backup QB2 that you could find for the Denver Broncos? Maybe, possibly. I loved the improvement. I'm glad it got better. And he definitely made me doubt any of the reactive false flutters in wanting to put Ben DiNucci in, because Ben DiNucci is one of the most chaotic people I've ever seen in my life. And I do not think he should be QB2, at least not right now. Zach.
Yeah, I'm with you. You can't do the Ben DiNucci thing. I generally agree with the Stidham thing. I don't think we've seen enough to feel very confident, but I do like that we've seen, because he was rough in training camp and he was rough in the first preseason game. And no, the second one wasn't great, but it was better. The third one was a little better than that. I agree that the aggression is concerning. I do think it fits how Sean Payton is building this team. I think it is like, if you really want to just dumb down, I think the offensive philosophy of this team, I think we're going to punch you in the mouth and then we're going to throw deep out of heavy sets. It's going to be a lot of 5-step, 7-step drops. There'll be some quick game, but this is going to be more like Sean Payton's Jameis Winston or like early career Drew Brees offense, as opposed to like the nickel diming and stuff Brees was doing at the end. And I think a ton of just what's funny?
No. I just thought of a joke. Continue. I won't say it. Wait. I
was just like, what's bad? I didn't think my take was that laughable.
No, how long do you think it takes Chris Manhertz to run down the field in those situations, Zach?
Fast. I've seen him run. You guys are underrating him as an athlete. It's D1 basketball.
No, we're just saying he's not quicker than Albert O. Albert O's pretty quick too.
Albert O's not the blocker.
We're not going back to tight ends. I love you both very much. Go back to Zach's point.
I think if it's because what they're going to ask him to do if Russell Wilson gets injured is hang in the pocket and throw a ball downfield. And like, he totally got bailed out on the Marvin Mims thing. And yes, there was a luck element to it, but I don't know. I think he fits what they want this offense to be. And I'm happy with him getting better week over week.
Ooh, can I make one more Stidham point real quick?
Yeah, I think that's a good point by Topher. Sorry, Topher just commented about Stidham targeting 9 different receivers in his game, and I think that was good to see. And Carter, like Carter's saying in the comments, everyone liked the thing. Rate us 5 stars, subscribe.
I haven't
really
got to the comment.
Hey, can I make a Stidham point real quick?
Yes.
While everyone likes, tough game from him. Tough game. He took some shots. And he was commanding that offense too. I liked it. I liked his swagger back there. It kind of made me realize why all these offensive geniuses might like him so much. I don't know. I mean, he's been picked up by plenty of like offensive guys that are really respected coaches wise to this point, and they all seem to love the guy. And I think that's part of the reason that as us fans we don't really get to see was just like the toughness, the swagger on the field, the command he took. All of that, like he was really taking command when he was on the line. It was good. I liked what I saw out of him.
Are we talking about Stidham still?
Yeah, it's Jared Stidham. Jared effing Stidham, Bree.
All right.
Put some respect on his name.
We're gonna start the narrative of a quarterback competition. Love it. Can't wait for it. Really looking forward to it.
Yesterday.
Guys, we've done 40 minutes of the good. Let's get into what was bad.
To be fair, 20 minutes of that is yelling about tight ends.
To be fair, you're right. It got a little off track. I was in it. I had more to say on the conversation, but listen, my biases can't show all the time. Yeah.
Look at that graphic, Bree. Look at that graphic.
That's really good. I really like it.
No, I mean, we get more tight end talk. Alberto's in the graphic because part of
hold on.
That's crazy, Zach. After his one good game, this is a different level of hate, everybody.
I need to be teed up before I have the Wolves jump on me.
But no, Joey, you can't ask a question or make a joke. Zach, you have to wait just a second. Let me get my freaking job done so we can talk about the bad from the game. I was going to say how I didn't love that Jaleel McLaughlin was out there for the entirety of the game. The risk of injury is too high, but I don't want to talk about Jaleel McLaughlin. I want to talk about how wrong Zach Seegers has been about Albert O on our podcast.
Yeah. I think, and then even in our text, I think immediately after I was in the LTB group chat, I was being I was being a bit of a hater. I was being a bit too negative. I think I don't know, the stock just skyrocketed a little. It was a bit of a GameStop stock situation, and I was like, I think this is a little fraudulent. But I became too much of a hater on that, and this is my public apology to Bree and Joey. Now I stand by what I said earlier. I think Alberto is going to have to.
You already apologized to me.
Pray at a temple if he wants to hit 150 receiving yards on this season. But he's definitely the 4th best tight end presently on the roster. And that's not the only way I looked bad. I also looked bad because I came on this show, hyped up Tyler Beatty a good bit when I don't know if McLaughlin's going to beat out Beatty. And then Beatty was miserable. It did not look exciting at all. It's been a rough preseason for him. He's maybe a practice squad guy, but definitely isn't making the final 53. And Jaleel McLaughlin is going to waltz onto the final 53. So there's me eating some crow.
In 3 games. I mean, it's like you couldn't even predict how well he was going to perform. Didn't allow the opportunity for a lot of the other running backs to have any sort of say. Although Tony Jones produced as necessary. And I think that there's lots to say about the Denver Broncos running back group. I like this comment from Aaron. You mean Jaleel McLightning? Ka-chow. I think it's mostly that you made me say that, so that we had to roll with that. Joey, any comments on the bad of Jaleel McLaughlin getting too much playing time, Zach being wrong about Albert? I mean, I was also wrong about Alberto, although I do accept your apology, Zach. Thank you.
For Bree.
No,
and Frankie. I was disagreeing with Frankie's son. Bree and Frankie. You guys, Joey,
you doubted my Dulcich. You doubted.
It's no take backs, unfortunately. Anyways, let's move on.
You are the tight end.
I agree that Jaleel. Okay. Here's the thing. Like Samaje Perine, it's hard to sit that many running backs. Like your average running back 3, right? Probably isn't playing much in the NFL season. They really aren't. And it's hard to sit that many guys for a game. I think Jaleel McLaughlin's in a fortunate situation with a head coach that's really going to utilize him. I think he's going to get snaps this year. I don't think that's league round, though. These running back threes are getting carries. So I think that if Jaleel McLaughlin were in a different situation, this wouldn't be such a big deal. I think you have to play somebody that's going to play in the NFL season. Jaleel McLaughlin's probably going to pay the least out of the guys that are going to play at the running back position. And, I mean, these other guys like Tyler Beatty and Tony Jones, these guys are going to be cut. They're not even going to be on the team. There's zero chance of them playing. So why are they in my preseason game?
To get some tape rolling for the teams that may want to pick them up. Sometimes that's a service when a team is doing so well that you have the opportunity to do that. But Joey, I want to challenge that notion a little bit real quick, because I know we've talked a lot about the NFL getting away from the running back 1 and running back 2. It's usually 1A, 1B, a little bit of a tandem effort there. But I think with this talented group and also a fullback waiting in the backfield, just waiting in the wings for an opportunity, that Sean Payton might actually rotate a little bit more than that. And I could see Jaleel McLaughlin in that running back 3 position get a ton more time out there carrying the ball. Zach.
Yeah, and there is the precedent for this with Sean Payton. I just looked at Pro Football Reference. There might be a better example, but I was like, let me look at the Darren Sproles years and, like what his usage was like for the Saints. In 2013, the New Orleans Saints, right? This is when they had Pierre Thomas, Mark Ingram, and Darren Sproles. So I'm looking for times when, they had a backfield full of guys they wanted to use. Who knows if the Broncos backfield ends up being that good, but whatever. You had 4 guys with over 50 touches, 3 guys with over 80 touches. And then the 2 guys, Darren Sproles and Pierre Thomas, had over 120 touches. Thomas led with 224. So I do think, and again, I think that's an extreme example, but I don't think it's crazy to think like these guys can all have a good bit of usage, because to a point that I think you were the first to highlight in our group chat or whatever, Joey, these 3 guys all have varying skill sets. It shouldn't be that hard to find them all each a spot in the offense.
No, I totally agree with both of you guys. I guess I probably said this wrong. I'm merely making the point that I don't think most teams in the league are using their running back 3. I think the Broncos will, but most teams in the league will not. And you can only sit so many guys going into a preseason game. That's my point, is like these other guys that you're going to play aren't even going to play at all. They're going to all be off the team. So you might as well give Jaleel McLaughlin a little PT. But too long, to Bree's point. I mean, my God. I was talking to my dad. Shout out to my dad. Great guy. On the phone, and then about Jaleel McLaughlin hung up. This guy caught 3 catches back to back to end the half. He was getting a lot of carries out there.
All right, cool. Yeah. Anything bad?
Do you have a point, Bree?
I did. Sorry. Do you? Oh, sorry. I thought you just meant in general. Like, do you have a point to what you're doing here?
No, you put it
planet Earth.
Well, behind the scenes, Bree said she had a point, so I wanted to help tee you up. I didn't want it to get lost in the flow.
Like 12 minutes ago, I wanted to talk about how I do think the Denver Broncos are going to run something very weird, and I'm really excited for it. Just the opportunity with all of the depth and all of the talent that remains on this roster, and you keep forgetting about the fullback. The disrespect is insane. But let's just talk about how many weapons and different skill sets that there are at the bevy just for Russell Wilson and Sean Payton to go at it with. Like, this is exciting. I want to see more crazy tight end runs, though. That's all I'm saying, and that is complete biases, because if you can run the game the entirety of the game and you can have 33 first downs, I think the Rams had 11, which just made me laugh. The whole game was very funny. I was excited to be there. Somebody in the chat also asked how the scoreboard was. I was swathed in blue lights the entire game. I may glow in the dark now, but that thing is absolutely massive. My seats are kind of right there, and so I am also fearful of it, and I have to turn my entire body around to really kind of see the screen. Otherwise my peripherals are very fuzzy because it's just massive. but the quality, guys, the quality is like 4K. The new screens that are on the north side of the field, they've been upgraded, so they're edge to edge. They're high crisp definition, and then behind you, it's like watching your TV at home, just in the most gigantic scale possible. So I'm just gonna keep talking since we're almost, to 50 minutes. But I do like the chaos of the show, and I want to keep it rolling. Did anybody else have anything bad from the game? I'm trying to check my notes because there wasn't a whole lot of it, but the momentum was good. I think that roster spots got solidified. I don't think I had any other bad takeaways. Guys, how about you? Do you want to move on to ugly at this point? Was there anything that was just
ugly?
Absolutely disgusting too? I see we've picked certain players here for this graphic. Let's talk about them. Zach, I'm throwing it directly over to you.
Okay, well, I have a little rant I'll go on. I'm not picking Marvin Mims because Mims had an ugly performance or anything. That face mask was absolutely ugly, and that's what's happening in the photo.
Yeah.
Dude almost had his neck broken. That was horrific. What I wanted to rant about is the white uniforms at home. I don't like it. Some teams can do it. Here's the thing. The NFL has always had an advantage on some of America's other this is my corner. I'm our old man on 60 Minutes. I forget the guy's name, but he'd come on. Here's what I'm mad about. That's my role. I'm mad about these white uniforms. Some teams can do it. It's not a catch-all rule. The Dallas Cowboys, right? White is their home uniform. Cool. It's allowed. Stop trying to be the Dallas Cowboys. You're not the Dallas Cowboys. The NFL is better than the NBA in the regard that they let you wear your colors at home. Show your pride. Show the orange, show the blue. I don't care what color of blue or what color of orange you like best. Just have the colors, not the all white thing. It annoys me because I don't know, why are you showcasing the same color jersey that everyone else in the league has? Like, show the cool ones. That's my take. That was ugly to me. I don't like it. I don't like this trend under Sean Payton. That's it.
Okay. Well, I don't care. I think it's fine.
Hey, they won 41-0. It was hard to come up with things that were ugly.
No, but they were ugly. I didn't understand why they were wearing the white jerseys. I was very concerned about it. So was my brother.
Thank you, Bree.
I care too.
Bree. Thank you.
I want to hear you say, though, that orange is the primary color and therefore should be the home color.
Yeah,
I don't like the orange and blue. Orange or blue, it doesn't really matter. No, it's orange. It does matter.
I'm with that, but I do like the all blues. Like, those are the all navy thing they do every now and then. I think those are really fun. Like, I'm fine with wear a color. Wear a color is I'm setting the bar low for them, and they didn't clear it on Saturday.
I think he's fired. As they said, blue should be the primary. I don't know. Bad take, Frankie. That's not normal for Frankie Abbott. If you want to go follow his 5-star or gold star reviews over on the Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel, you got to watch those right now, and you got to subscribe if you're not already doing so. You're here. There's a lot of you. I see you. Go ahead and like, subscribe, leave a nice comment. If they're mean, you can direct them towards either Joey Richards or Zach Seegers. Joey, anything else ugly stick out from the game from you? I feel like there was a lot of improvement from week 1 to week 3. We're headed into the first week. 2 weeks from now, the Denver Broncos will be taking on the Las Vegas Raiders for the home opener. I think they've improved quite steadily from what we saw to start the preseason. Do you agree, Joey?
I mean, they got so much better. But I will say, the Rams' depth is terrible, and I don't think it gave us the best. If I'm talking about the ugly, it's the Rams' depth. And
that's a good point.
The
stuff might be inflated a little.
Yeah, with that I don't want to take away from anything from the Broncos because they beat them like they should have, or not even more like they should have. They did it a lot more than they should have. You shouldn't beat any NFL team 40 whatever to 0. That just should not happen in any sphere of NFL football. But did the Broncos go out there and beat up on a really good and deep football team? No, they didn't. So that would be the ugly, is how much of this is inflated, I guess. I don't think a ton. I think they definitely did look better in some circumstances. But what do the Broncos starters or the Broncos depth just isn't good because of that? That's not the case. It's just you're probably not beating other football teams 40-0. That's just probably not going to happen against other football teams. That was the ugly. The Rams' depth.
I don't have anything else. Therefore, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the evening. It's Joey's question of the day.
All right, guys. If you guys don't have this one, I'm giving you a layup right now. You guys are no longer Broncos fans. You're banned from Broncos country.
What? Okay.
Forever.
I forgot the applause. Do you want me to hit it now? I'm going to do it. That was it.
Thank you, Bree. What Broncos Hall of Famer was traded from the Vikings to the Broncos?
What Broncos Hall of Famer?
Yeah, it's traded from the Vikings to the Broncos. People are going to chat are going to get it immediately.
Well, then I'm going to close the chat.
What Hall of Famer was
2008 Hall of Famer. You guys have 5 seconds to answer. If you don't answer in that time, you lose.
A real Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Pro Football Hall of Famer. 5.
A Broncos?
Like a Kendall Hinton Hall of Famer, or does he have a bust?
Former Viking who was traded to the Broncos and became a Hall of Famer.
Oh,
5,
okay. I think I know.
4,
am I right? No,
3,
I'm on this.
No idea.
2, 1.
Gary Zimmerman?
Wow. Well,
You looked at the
you
comment.
didn't get it off in time.
I thought you were counting me down to say it. I got confused.
No.
Yeah,
You had to get it off in that time. You both are
Right.
right.
Well, I was right. I was right.
Gary Zimmerman,
Open.
probably the best
didn't.
Broncos tackle of all time, traded
He's a
from the
good
Vikings to the
player.
Broncos. Gary Zimmerman, shout out to him, the man, the myth. We haven't heard from that man since. Respect.
I thought
same
you were
thing.
doing a Kendall Hinton thing, and it was going to be some weird technical Hall of Fame.
God forbid the Let's Talk Broncos podcast has any kind of bookending continuity here. No, I don't think Joey was going to tie in the Hall of Famer.
I literally gave the layup. All right, that's all.
I got it right.
If you guys are going to the buzzer went off before, unfortunately.
I didn't hear
You
it.
heard it?
I didn't hear no bell.
I definitely did. Rewind the tape. Both banned from Broncos country. Anyways, yeah, please subscribe to the video. Bree, get us up out of here.
Oh. Bye.
He's going to kill us.
See you Wednesday.
Bye.